So in this video, I'm going to talk about the diet in each dimension, because as we grow in awareness, our frequency grows, our information, our informed field, the aura around us grows. It requires specific diets that align to the frequency of the dimension that we're operating in, right? So each diet pertains to the level of consciousness, the level of awareness that a being has evolved to become, right? So we can start with the 1D, which is the womb. So the character here is the baby. Of course, babies drink milk. They eat soft foods. Sometimes in the age that we're in now, which is very industrialized, very commercialized, very consumer oriented, we've created formula, which has a lot of different ingredients, vitamins, chemicals, maybe things that are unnecessary for the baby. So formula becomes a replacement for the milk of the mother. We have babies from the ages of like 1 to 4 eating fruits now, eating softer foods, right? Some soft vegetables, fruit cups. So depending on, this is what I mean by the programming of the womb. Depending on what your parents, what your mother is feeding you during these formative years, is going to determine maybe your diet in the 2D, right? So we have fruit cups, which have a lot of refined sugar. So making sure that the baby, the 1D character, is receiving nutrients and they're not adding any programs like sugar, no addictions, right? Not developing addictions to certain foods, right? This is why we have like very picky eaters during this developmental stage. So from the 1D, we can jump right into the 2D. And this is the 2D diet. It's highly processed foods. So again, going back to the womb, like were you feeding the baby foods that became an addiction? Are you a parent who's eating a lot of processed foods, right? Fast foods, foods that have addictive chemicals in them, because that's going to determine the diet of the child as it grows up, right? Like what are you consuming in the family? Like culturally, what are you consuming? What are you eating? What are you making, right? Especially in the Matrix, coming from the Matrix perspective, where there's a lot of things that you have to look out for in terms of food. So here in the meta, we have packaged meals, high acid forming foods. We have candida forming foods, which are, of course, gluten, white bread. Basically, any bread in the US is not okay because they're being sprayed with chemicals. Like, if you don't know, that gluten intolerance is literally just the intolerance to the pesticides or the herbicides, whatever they spray on the wheat. That's gluten, quote unquote, intolerance, right? But it's not really intolerance to gluten, because there's gluten's structures in Europe or Asia who have banned this chemical that don't produce, quote unquote, gluten intolerance, right? So here in the 2D meta diet, we also have low quality produce, low quality vegetables, which again goes back to what are they spraying on the food, right? We have low quality meat. We have huge factory farming problems. We have low quality dairy. We also have institutional and social dietary programming through commercials that are promoting these foods that are not good for us, right? A lot of poison consumption as well in the meta. Basically, the meta diet is slow death. Like, you are slowly dying because everything you're putting into your body is deteriorating your body from the inside. And of course, this affects your spiritual evolution because your body is the vessel for your spirit, right? In the 2D, we also see a lot of hyperconsumption, eating 3 full meals a day with unconscious snacking throughout the whole day. You're constantly feeding your body poison, right? Because you're unconscious of the things that you're putting into it. Our bodies don't really need all of that because those are the addictions that are taking over our bodies, our minds, and telling us we're hungry, right? The parasites telling us that we're hungry, that we need sugar, that we need something sweet all the time. We need something salty. We need a processed chip. Like all of these things, right? That's the 2D diet. And a lot of people who are primarily functioning in the 2D and the 3D are still reverting back to the 2D diet from time to time, right? Maybe it's not every day, but it's like I'm gonna have a quote unquote treat. And I love how we've um, kind of done language witchcraft, calling things that are bad for us a treat, right? That's also part of the witchcraft, the spells that we're putting into our informed field. So from here, we can go on to the 3D diet, the matrix diet. So what are people eating in the matrix? And I'd say this is like the majority of people. It's like mid-quality foods. Again, grains forming candida. Candida is like a fungal parasitic environment that you're creating in your gut biome. And you don't want that, basically. What else are they eating in the matrix? A lot of dairy, a lot of meat, a lot of starches, potatoes. Meat and potatoes is a matrix staple diet. Flesh of any kind, so red meat, like beef, cow. Pork is one of the worst. I mean, pork should honestly be in the 2D diet because it's a meat that is so bad for you that it's it should be in the 2D diet. But let's call it in the 3D diet because a lot of people are eating pork, which every spiritual text tells you not to eat pork. For some reason, I don't know. Do your research to find out why. Um, Chicken is a huge staple of the matrix diet, right? To get your protein in, you need all of this stuff, all of these dead things, right? Eating death, right? A lot of programmed eating, again with commercials, again with cooking shows. People are creating recipes. It's just they're recycling these matrix diets, right? And anything outside of that is considered an alternative health choice, right? Um, Overconsumption, again, eating 2 to 3 meals a day with unconscious snacking. Maybe some people are conscious. Most people are really unconscious about all of the things that they're eating or drinking, right? Um, and again, there are some um, chemicals. I would say like you're not really too worried about the quality of your produce, right? Um, Basically, in the Matrix, the diet is just maintaining the parasites. Like you're not actively trying to reduce the toxins in your body. The Matrix diet is not as acidic as the 2D, the meta diet, but it is still very acidic, which becomes a problem later in your life. Another staple of the 3D diet is alcohol, right? Spirits. So we can get into all of that at another time, but for now, let's go back into the 4D diet. So, Atlantis, what is the Atlantean diet? So, this is a huge step in awareness, right? We're moving from the realm of the destroyer, where you can see the diet in this realm of the destroyer is deteriorating the body more than it's building it up. Maybe temporarily you're building muscle, you're doing this, but at an organ level, you're actually degenerating your body, which is your vessel for your spirits, right? So in Atlantis, the 4D diet, you become a little bit more knowledgeable, right? And I see this in waves now, where people are looking at ingredients finally. People are looking at if there's seed oils, if there's red 4D. Like again, those things are probably 2D, 3D, right? Um, Another main thing of the Atlantean diet is that it's primarily pescatarian, right? Atlantis. Now we're in the realm of the observer. Now we're in the conscious realm, right? This is the water. So you become pescatarian. Maybe you have some knowledge about what fishes to eat and what fishes to not eat, right? Which have more mercury, which are farm raised, like Atlantic salmon is probably not the best thing to eat. You begin maybe going to local markets to get your fish that are caught daily, fresh fish, right? You're now more interested in organic produce, maybe again local produce, farmers markets. Um, Maybe you've started growing herbs from your garden because remember, Atlantis, the 4D is all about sovereignty. How can I become more sovereign, more independent, more um, self sufficient than I was in the Matrix? So maybe you've begun to grow vegetables. Maybe you've planted fruit trees, right? Maybe you've been growing herbs and you're using your own herbs that you know haven't been tampered with in the food that you're making. Um, there is a distinction in vegetables, which is something that veggies and fruit, basically everything that we have on the market, is a hybrid, right? And in the 4D, this isn't a big problem, right? Because a lot of the fruits, especially the fruits that we're consuming, have been genetically modified to produce the most fruit, the least amount of seeds, right? This doesn't mean the fruits are bad for us, obviously. It just means that they're less close to the original fruit that they're derived from, right? A lot of fruits have been de-seeded, like the bananas, um, the Cavendish bananas, I believe they're called. Those bananas used to have seeds. And so in the 4D, you're starting to kind of make this connection. Like, maybe I should start eating seeded grapes. Maybe I should start eating seeded bananas, seeded watermelons. Some mangoes now don't even have seeds. The big seed, like some mangoes don't have seeds. And that's an important thing when you get up to the 5D. All right, what else? There are some acid forming grains and vegetables in the 4D diet, which again is not that big of a problem when you're jumping from 3D, 2D, and 3D, and you have those types of foods kind of tempting you. It's like you're not really concerned with like a little bit of acid forming foods, right? Um, Again, Atlantis, water. What water are we drinking in all of these dimensions, at all of these levels of consciousness? In the 4D, we begin to um, really step up our water
Say
game.
hi.
We start,
Where's
number
Raja?
one, not drinking poisoned water, which is in the Matrix and the Meta, right? All of the water in the taps, at least in America, are poisoned, like straight up. Um, in Atlantis, we seek out alkaline water, spring water. We begin eating more raw foods, fruits, as well, that have their uh, their hydration integrated within the fruit. And that's probably the best form of hydration, is eating fruit, right? So we begin understanding that. We also start cutting out starches that we don't need. So instead of eating white rice and brown rice, which has no nutritional value, maybe we start eating wild rice, which is the original rice, right? Maybe we convert the white and brown rice to quinoa. Maybe we convert the russet potato, these very, very heavy, high starch potatoes. Maybe we start replacing them with yams, sweet potatoes, butternut squash. It's those little choices that are helping our bodies become less acidic. Um, in the 4D, we're eating 2 meals a day. We don't need, when you're eating such good food, such nourishing food that have all of the minerals and all of the fiber and all of the vitamins that you need, you actually get less hungry, right? So 2 meals a day plus conscious snacking. Okay, so what does conscious snacking mean? Basically, it's like, okay, I have a smoothie. Like, we know the smoothie is full of sugars, right? Natural sugars, but it's just fruit, right? So, how am I going to balance that out? Maybe with the smoothie, I'll snack on some Brazil nuts, I'll snack on some um, almonds, or I'll have an avocado with it to introduce some healthy fats to the sugar. Maybe um, stuff like that. Um, and then in the 4D, you begin harnessing your transmutation abilities. So not in the way where it's like you can eat Chick-fil-A or you can eat McDonald's or fast food or things like this and be like fine. It's like no, maybe you can have that on occasion and it won't affect you, but you'll notice as you change your diet with your awareness, right? With your consciousness level, um, you will become affected by eating lower frequency foods. So if you're eating a 4D diet and then you have 2 weeks of eating a 2D diet, like you will drastically feel the difference in your body from this higher vibrational food, this higher vibrational diet, um, when you're eating the 2D diet. But in the 5D, that begins to change, and you begin to have the ability to transmute more things. And for a lot of people, it's meat, because meat is a staple of this realm of the destroyer, right? Like, think about meat. It's it's like survival food, right? It's like maybe we don't have the land to grow crops. Maybe something has happened where the water supply like has been tampered with, so we need to resort to eating meat. This is a survival food. We have to resort to the killing of another species in order to feed ourselves, um, which is really only a temporary thing that we've like created a big problem with. But this isn't about like that. That's a whole other topic. um, I think I can jump into 5D now, and 5D is samadhi. So this is when we really begin healing, because there's a big jump between 4D and 5D. Not a bit, like a huge jump, but this is when we totally cut out flesh, right? We totally cut out acidic foods for the time being, because this is a reset, right? Like, we're resetting our gut biome. We are resetting our addictions to certain foods, our um, our need for certain foods, right? So again, we're looking at alkaline, electric food, organic food, local food, in season produce, things that are growing in the region that you're in. So your body is tuning into the frequency of the land that you're in, right? Maybe you've expanded your garden. You're now growing your own vegetables, right? You're now going outside and picking fruit from trees that you have outside. Um, you completely stop eating acid forming foods. Um, every day is like your intermittent fasting. And the 5D diet takes a lot of um, discipline to maintain. And that discipline is, again, training the mind. What is the 5D? What is this whole realm of the observer? It's becoming master of your emotions, your mental, and your spiritual. Becoming the master of the things that have control over you. So when you're eating this healing diet, this alkaline diet, you're really training your brain to remove um, the need for these addictions, these addictive foods, these foods that you believe that your body requires to have sustenance. Um, so maybe you're eating one big meal a day. Maybe you're drinking smoothies that are good, and I can do a whole thing about smoothies, because there's a proper way to drink smoothies and there's an improper way to drink smoothies. You're eating a lot of gut healing herbs, right? You're removing heavy metals. Maybe you're eating parsley, um, cilantro. You're not eating any flesh at all, right? You're removing the the acidity, you're removing the toxins, you're removing the heavy metals. Um, you're snacking consciously. So, you know how when after you eat a meal, you're like, I feel like something sweet. I need dessert. I need something to like top me off for like the night or whatever. And that's where the concept of dessert comes from, right? And that's a natural response of the body, right? How you interact with that changes. So maybe in the 4D and the 5D, you'll eat some fruit, maybe like a sweet melon, some strawberries, right? Um, my go-to is dates. I eat a lot of dates as dessert. Dates and some dark chocolate in the 4D. And then the 5D is like you're not really supposed to eat chocolate because you're cutting out acidic foods. And cocoa is a little bit acid forming, but it's like you're conscious of that. Like you know that it's not going to be the end of the world if you have some chocolate, right? So you're eating to nourish your body. Um, in the 5D, you really lose interest in alcohol. Like it just doesn't sit well with your stomach because again, it's so acidic that in a highly alkaline electric gut biome, the one that you're forming in the 5D, like alcohol does not sit well with it. And it's not like you can't have a glass of wine. Um, it depends on how serious you are about what you're doing, right? Um, but in this realm, as you become more acquainted to the healing diet, you begin to harness high transmutation abilities. So maybe after a few months, you have a steak and you're like, oh God, like this, and like you're angry, you're upset that you ate something so acidic, something that's like breaking down so slowly in your body. Again, 5D, the higher up you go in dimensions, the faster the food metabolizes in your body. The need for this slow, dense food that takes hours and hours to digest, that cause your body to form acids just so it can break it down because like chewing isn't enough, like that all kind of dissipates in the higher dimensions. So maybe after a few months, you're like, this was not a good idea to eat this. But maybe as you grow, as you integrate, maybe you go back to the 4D and you're eating fish again, you're eating eggs, you're eating cheese maybe. The Atlantean diet is not that strict. I think a lot of the people from the Matrix diet could easily transition to the Atlantean diet. It's basically pescatarian. You can still eat anything really if it's a real food, right? You're just not eating all of the super acid forming foods anymore. Um, what else? Yeah, so in the 5D, you begin to transmute. So maybe after like a year of that, you can kind of bounce around. You know how the things affect you. You know how different foods affect you. You can not let it affect you, basically. You can use the power of the mind, which is something you're cultivating, to do a little reversal, right? Because thoughts and intention and awareness and consciousness about what you're consuming um, can really affect the way that it manifests in the body. So now let's go on to 6D. 6D is the last. This is the Garden of Eden. I mean, technically 70 is the last diet, but um, Yeah, we can go to 60 now. So 60 is your fruitarian, or you're a frugivore. You're eating mostly fruits from a local garden. Literally, it's the Garden of Eden. You have a personal connection to everything that grows around you. You know what fruits are in season. You know what fruits um, cause different things, right? You know the attributes of what you're eating. You know the medicinal benefits of berries and herbs that you're consuming. Um, you're making medicinal teas with herbs, right? Tisana. You have highest quality of water. And what I mean by the highest quality of water is something like you're going to a local source of water that you know is clean. And this is much easier to do in Europe than here in America, obviously. Finding local sources of water that have natural spring water, natural balanced pH'd water, or alkaline water if you're really lucky. Like when I was in Portugal, we were going to Monchique, which is um, a place in the south of Portugal with one of the highest pH levels of water in maybe all of Europe, but definitely I think in Portugal. And we were literally carrying glass jugs, huge glass jugs, up this mountain and filling them up with this natural spring alkaline water. Like that's the level of quality that you're looking for 60 water. So now at this point, you really have your transmutation abilities like set up. Like you can be kind of fluid with what you're eating. But at this point, it's like you know that you're not eating the things that are really bad for you. It's like the things that are quote unquote really bad for you in the 60 is like nothing compared to what you were eating in the 3D. I mean, it's an entire 3 dimensions above what you were eating in the 3D. So it's like when you're breaking fast, it's like maybe you have a piece of fish after being on a 60 fruitarian diet. Like that's not going to affect you the way um, the transition from the lower diet to the higher diet affects you because you're used to it. You've trained your body enough to have that ability to transmute that. Um, in the 6D, you're also fasting a lot more, and there is some fasting in 4D. There's some fasting in 5D, like longer fasting. Maybe your juice fasting in 4D, your water fasting in 5D, and you're doing it for longer and longer. Maybe you're doing it for 12 hours in Atlantis. Maybe you're doing it for 24 hours. Maybe 48 hours in the Garden of Eden, just straight water, um, or nothing at all. So longer, more consistent fasting periods. And overall, you're just tapped into source energy. You're tapped into life force. All of the things you're eating are electrically charged, right? There's an electric current going through living foods. This is why it's so important to cut out all of the dead foods because you're not getting source energy from that. You're getting material energy from meat, from flesh. It's carnal energy. So that's really important. And then we can talk about the 70 briefly, but the mountain, the archangel, the diet, and it's mostly air. It's mostly you're a breatharian. Like you have no need for food. The energy that we're receiving in all of the foods we're consuming is just electricity, right? It's just creating energy, right? And if you can harness the energy, the etheric power that's in the air that you breathe, and you transmute that into energy to sustain your body, that's food. You're just cutting out the middleman, right? So that's the 70 diet. Um, you're literally just breathing 80, I don't know, 90, I don't know. Maybe you're just in the sun. Like up here in the realm of the generator, you're getting energy from the sun, you're getting energy from life, right? Life itself is energizing you. Life itself, the air around you, is sustaining your body. So, yep, that was that was the diet. Maybe I'll make some graphics for my Instagram so I can lay it out better, more concisely. But yeah, if you have any questions about your diet, how to transition your diet from 3D to 4D or 4D to 5D, I'm working with my friend Martina, and we're creating a really integrative journey for people to take that incorporates astrology, it incorporates naturopathy, so healing the body through a variety of methods. We get into the diet, how to lighten the diet without losing the form of the body, right? So all of these things, we will be helping people with programs, with a thing called Your Journey that we'll release soon. But until then, guys, I'll see you guys later. Peace.